everyone to the second Chef AJ Live of the day. If you're seeing me for the first time, who I am is Chef AJ, and I've been doing these lives, gosh, it's been about 6 weeks now since the first day of sheltering in place. I started going live just to create a sense of community and connection with my community, and now a bigger community where people could share and get to know each other. And I got a little bit tired of just having it be me, so I asked a lot of people that I know, friends, and even people that I haven't met to come on. Hi, Vanessa. And talk to us. And so today we have a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I love volunteer work. You know, I work with someone named John Pierre, who actually I'm going to be interviewing Sunday at 2. And he says that volunteerism is the rent that we pay for the privilege of living on earth. And I have volunteered somewhere pretty much my entire life. I was raised in a family where it just was non-negotiable. This is just what you did. It didn't matter if you went to school or you had a job. You just gave back to the community. And my mom always volunteered with the Hadassah and the PTA and the American Heart Association. And as a matter of fact, when I graduated college, my graduation speaker was Marlee Matlin, the Oscar-winning actress that's deaf. And she won an Oscar for Children of a Lesser God. And she said that now we are adults, that the onus is that we all must do volunteer work. And I really took that to heart. Well, my very favorite volunteer job, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do since the sheltering is in place. And I'm wearing my shirt and I'm wearing my ID. No, Bailey. And I'm not wearing my dog, who will be here in a minute because she volunteers with me as a team. And for 30 years now, more than 30 years, I've been doing something called pet therapy or animal assisted therapy. So in today's broadcast, you're going to learn a little bit more about that, but you're also going to learn about this wonderful organization I work with in the Coachella Valley called Animal Samaritans. And also we're going to learn what they know now about COVID-19 and pets. So I'd like to welcome my guest, Patrice Mock. Where'd you go? I just welcomed her and she went away. Bailey, Charles, can you bring Bailey over? She's getting her therapy dog.
Here we are. Thank you so much for having us. I'm so happy to be here, and we really appreciate your support. This is Bean. She is also a therapy dog like your Bailey, and she's got her little therapy dog vest on today, Animal Samaritan's therapy dog. And like you, she is missing, well, she and I both are really missing being a volunteer and getting out there and helping people in the community. It's such a wonderful program, and I know all of you volunteers are just sitting at home waiting and wondering, and our dogs must be very confused, especially right now with their vests on and nowhere to go.
I know, I was just thinking, I've got Bailey's vest on too. And it's funny because people say, well, how can you have time to broadcast live 3 hours a day? Simple, I'm not doing my other volunteer job right now. So this is my volunteer job. So what exactly is pet therapy or animal assisted therapy?
Okay, so we call it animal companion therapy, and it is where dog handlers take their own pets who have been trained with a trainer professionally to do the basic commands. They have to have what's called their Canine Good Citizenship Certificate. And once they do have that, we also provide a temperament test with a professional trainer and make sure that they are, calm and gentle and well behaved in all kinds of environments. And once they pass that test, they're good to go with our organization. We also do a background check on our volunteers. The only cost to the animal handler is the training to get their dog to that point, to that canine good citizenship. So once they are there and they are welcomed into the fold of volunteers with Animal Samaritans, we find a location that suits their dog best and their interests. We visit area schools and special needs classrooms. We go to hospitals and nursing homes. Before all of this was shut down, we started up a library reading program that you and Bailey are part of, where you go to the library, and you could share a little bit more about that too firsthand, and read to the little kids. And then we go to a drug and rehab center. We go to a behavioral health institute. I mean, all kinds of places. Safe House, which is for troubled youth in our community who stay there, temporarily. And I mean, these dogs, it's such a unique comfort that these little dogs bring to people, as we all know, and the dogs love it. I mean, it's a win-win. Now, it does differ from service dogs or service animals in that to have a service animal, which I know Bailey is for you, that dog is replacing a task or tasks that you can't otherwise do based on a disability that is recognized from the ADA, the American Disability Association, I think it is. So you can't, and those dogs can go with you everywhere. They have their service, vest on. These therapy dogs are different. They belong to you. They are your pet. Now, sometimes it can be, one and the same, like Bailey, which is awesome. But therapy dogs are not allowed to just go into any public place simply because they're a therapy dog. So that's
It's interesting because people could sure use stress relief and comfort right now, and we're really prevented from going anywhere. They're even asking dogs to social distance 6 feet now.
Yes, it is really an extraordinary time, isn't it? I mean, the places that we visit are some of the highest risk places. These schools, they're saying they don't want anybody at, of course, because those kids can bring it back home to parents or grandma and grandpa. And of course, any of these senior living facilities, no way. So, it's really, I honestly don't know when we'll be back allowed to those types of places. So it is a sad time for us right now. We are working on a video compilation that we're putting together, and I'd love for you to also participate in that and just send some pictures or video, or just all the volunteers holding up a little sign for the residents of some of these places, and then I'll get that video to the people there that they can hopefully share at some of these facilities. Probably not all, but just be a nice way to say hello virtually like we're doing now.
Absolutely. Can any dog be a therapy dog regardless of age, size, breed, disability?
Pretty much, not 100% across the board. Speaking of boards right here behind me, these are what we call our trading cards, and all of the dogs, the majority of them, that board is shy at 5 or 10 dogs maybe. But here's Bean's card, and we pass these out at our facilities or when we're at special events or parades. And on the back is a little story of each dog and how to contact us. But if you could see a little better, some of these dogs here, we have a tripod, which is a 3-legged dog. So she would be considered disabled. She walked in the Pride Parade with us. We have a pit bull, so we are representing the bully breed, who's a sweetheart. The children just adore her. She works in our humane education department. They go into classrooms and do presentations on like anti-bullying and compassion towards animals and responsible pet ownership and how to approach an unusual dog that you haven't met before. And Hannah, our pit bull, is one of the star visitors there. And I know you've done some of that too. And again, you can speak to how great that program is. It's a free service we provide the community. So we do have a few older dogs too that are even 10 years old, and they've been in the program since they were young. So those animals are kind of grandfathered into the program, and as long as their health is okay, I mean, they just would choose not to do certain types of activities that might tire them out more. So we have some older dogs. We have all kinds of breeds. Bean is one of our smaller dogs. We do have a couple of dogs even smaller than her. And if you could see this board a little better, I mean, our breeds just run the whole gamut. And we've got doodles I've never heard of before. I'm not a breed expert, but I'm learning. There's so many out there. So really not a lot of restrictions. Again, they have to be temperament tested. Sometimes we've had a dog come in that just needed a little bit more work in a certain area. And our trainer would just give that individual some guidance and some tips and tools and come back and retest again at no cost to the potential volunteer. And we'll test them as many times as we need to, and again, that's a win-win because those animals are going to be a very well-trained dog by the time we're done,
Well, it's a good thing that you didn't temperament test me, because I might not have passed. What I love about volunteering is it's the first organization I've worked with. They give you cards. So when we go to the hospital, every patient I see, I give them this really cute card. And on the back, it has all of Bailey's statistics. And then when I go to the library, all the children get a bookmark. They also get this at all the schools. And when the child actually is the one that reads, they get a button. So it's really, really cool. And you're so good, Patrice, at figuring out which dog is right for which job. Because when I came to you, I was already volunteering at Desert Regional, and you saw something in Bailey, and you suggested her for children, and she is just so happy doing the after school assemblies more than anything.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. I try to match them up, and it doesn't always work out, but the majority of the time it does. And, you can try, like some people will try a special needs classroom, and those kiddos are just too much for themselves or the animals, and I understand that. And we're just grateful to our volunteers for anywhere they want to try and go. There aren't any restrictions as to, you have to go here or there. And we have a lot of options. And some of our volunteers have had some great ideas. Again, just before we closed down, unfortunately, hopefully temporarily, of course, we had a volunteer recommend the airport in Palm Springs, that dogs could be there when people are getting ready to fly that are nervous. And the airport was definitely receptive to the idea. And the other one was, which I mentioned earlier, the drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. And gosh, I had just had that all dialed in, and the volunteers were literally going to go like the next week, and everybody was so excited. We did a test run at the facility, and then everything's on hold. So it's really disappointing. It is.
Yeah, well, I love volunteering with kids. I tried the special needs school, and boy, Bailey was fine, but it was hard on me. My heart is. I mean, the people that do that full time, that is, they're extraordinary. It's
Yeah, I
amazing.
agree. I agree. And like I said, everything isn't for everybody, and that's okay.
What was interesting is I had volunteered when I lived in Los Angeles, like from the age of, I don't know, like 25 until I moved here at the age of 59. And I volunteered in 3 different hospitals, including a birth center. And it was always pretty, pretty chill. And it was, I was visiting people that had like, their gallbladder out or whatever. But I never realized that there was such a thing as a trauma hospital, and that it's way different than like a regular hospital. And it was such a shock volunteering at Desert Regional, because the kind of things I was seeing in 30 years I never saw at a hospital. You know what I mean? It's a much higher level of just of seriousness, if you will. And so it was very eye-opening. And so yeah, that was something. So talk about Animal Samaritan. Well, before she talks about Animal Samaritans and what it is, because they also are a no-kill shelter. They have a veterinary clinic. What I want you guys to know, because I'm assuming everybody here at some point in their life has ordered something from Amazon. And when you order from Amazon, you can pick something as a charity for your Amazon Smile. It can be any nonprofit organization, and a few pennies go to them. But if enough people do it, a lot of pennies go to them. So if you don't already have a charity selected, or maybe you're not passionate about the one you like, consider using Animal Samaritans. That's who I use as my Amazon Smile. And a lot of people say, oh, you help me so much. What can I get you? Nothing. I don't need anything. Just make Animal Samaritans your Amazon Smile for a while, and that would make me very, very happy. So tell us about the shelter, because shelters are very sad, but when there are no kill, there could be happy endings.
Yes, definitely. And I just wanted to add too, because you were talking about the difficulty and the, kind of the sadness that you see in a special needs classroom. Another place that we visit with our therapy dogs is hospice care. And, that's definitely not for everybody. We work with Destiny Hospice in Rancho Mirage, and they have homes where people are living out their last days of life, either at a facility or in their private home. And it's pretty rigorous training with them. I think it's about 8 hours of videos, not all at once, but you have to learn and to know what to expect. But we have several dogs working with them as well. And I just think that's wonderful. It just brings me such joy to know they're out there doing that. Again, not actually, I think right now in hospice care, we do have a couple dogs to visiting, because I don't know, though. I'm not certain of that, but I know in the coming up to the full closure, we still did. So anyway, just another great place that we visit with our dogs. And thank you for mentioning Amazon Smile. That is so that. So okay, so back to Animal Samaritans and was it our shelter?
Yeah, I wanted to know about the shelters. I mean, is this a good time? Maybe not so much for people to adopt, but maybe to foster a pet because a lot of people are off work and at home right now.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've been considering getting an animal and you haven't had the time to invest in getting them acclimated to their new home or raising up a puppy, it's the perfect time. And people are home lonely, and that companionship again brings everybody joy. So either adopting or fostering. The adoptions have been going really well. I mean, we have, the last I heard, no cats and just a couple dogs in our shelter. That does change quickly because people have been inquiring about bringing in a stray, for example. And if we have room at this time, we would consider that. We also, our shelter is on Ramon Road in Thousand Palms. It's a very small shelter, and we only take in small dogs and cats. And so right now we are there, and our staff is caring for the animals that are in our care right now, but we're only open for appointments. So you would call the shelter if you saw an animal on our website, which is animalsamaritans.org. And you can go to our shelter and view the adoptable dogs and cats. So some of those animals are in foster care. They're not physically at our shelter. And fostering is another great thing that someone can do and kind of just see how it feels. Am I really ready for an animal full time in my home? And with that, we do a home check and we do a questionnaire, and we really do look into the environment for the potential dog or cat and make sure it's safe and all of that. But another thing we do involving our shelter is next to our veterinary clinic in Thousand Palms, which is on Petland Place. We are in affiliation with the Riverside County Animal Shelter, which is the Coachella Valley Animal Campus. And they are not a no-kill shelter. They hope to be in the near future. They have some goals set for that, but they do a really good job. We often take their smaller dogs into our shelter, and we have an employee. It's a really unique relationship. So we have an Animal Samaritans employee, Michelle Bergeron. She is our Adoption Alliance supervisor, and she has a small office in that shelter where she works with a network of animal rescue organizations, over 200 of them, to pull the harder to place animals, such as the bully breeds, the pit bulls, and gosh, they get shepherds, and they get medical cases that have to go to a place that can maybe do emergency care, all kinds of cases. I mean, even there's a husky group, and anyway, she does an amazing job. She has a very hard, difficult job, and my hat goes off to her. It can be very emotional and draining, I know, but even at that shelter, they only have, what I heard most recently was 12 dogs in there. So, they're normally full house. One thing that's also happening, unfortunately, right now, they're not picking up any strays off of the street. So, I have a little concern that after this all said and done, there might be a lot of animals, roaming around that might have otherwise been picked up and cared for. The other concern is, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, she's one of our employees and doing a fabulous job there. So we have our tiny shelter, and we have the affiliation with Coachella Valley Animal Campus. So we do a lot of animal rescue. She has assisted in us placing over 12,000 animals through Animal Samaritans over the years.
That's amazing. That's a lot of placements.
Yes, definitely. And again, that's a tough job to be in animal rescue.
I think, we all acknowledge that everybody working the front lines, even if they're not the front lines, anyone working in a hospital now, or just anybody working now is a hero in my book. But I always feel that anybody that does animal rescue is always a hero, because I think it's some of the hardest work you could do.
Absolutely. And my thought just came back to me.
Just talk a little bit louder, because otherwise you won't be showing on screen.
Okay, got it. Another thought, it just came back to me, is that with COVID-19 and all of the concern as to whether or not our pets can contract it and or spread it, there may be a increase in owner relinquishments, which really is not necessary. We have not found on all of the science that we've looked at, and our lead veterinarian, Michelle, Dr. Bousquet, has been looking at the top veterinary science reports, of course, and it's changing pretty rapidly. You might have seen in the news there was a story about some lions at the zoo, tigers at the zoo, and they did contract it from one of the care.
We just lost sound. Patrice, we just lost your sound. Oh boy. Okay. I can't hear you. Can't. She's talking, but I can't hear her, guys. Oh, this is frustrating.
Can you hear me
There you
now?
go. Yeah. After you said the lion in the zoo, then your sound went away.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, I think maybe my internet connection's a little unstable. I'm sorry.
That's okay. A lot of people are using Zoom now. This does happen.
That's for sure. It's so popular and it's such a great platform. I'm, glad we have it available. And there was also a couple of house cats in New York. There was most recently a pug. Now, these animals did test positive for the COVID-19 coronavirus, and they did display symptoms. There were some clinical signs of mild symptoms, but from what we've learned, they're all healthy and will recover. And it has not been shown that our pets can transmit the disease to us, to people. So that being said, there is no reason to give up on your pet or your animal and worry about, oh my gosh, am I gonna, get sick? There's no reason to do that and to panic. You do, however, want to take similar precautions that you're taking with people. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, but just please speak a little bit louder because I'm showing on screen.
Okay, sorry. So we have seen some evidence of COVID-19 in pets, but again, cannot be transmitted to people at this time. There is no evidence of that. So we want you to still practice the same or similar social distancing precautions with your animals. When you're out on a dog walk, stay 6 feet away from other people. Don't have other people that you don't know, or even your family and friends. Really, I mean, if you live in the same household, everybody's going to be petting that animal, of course. If someone in the household gets sick, of course, you're going to be isolated and someone else should care for your pet. We don't want the pets getting sick, but don't worry that they're going to spread it to other people, because that has not been proven to be the case at this time.
Great. Harmony says, I'd give up my husband before I'd ever give up my dog. That's funny. And Emma says, Patrice, do you or staff get any additional help during this time of lockdown for the work you do being affected?
Well, do you mean for the employees and the staff and the organization? Is that what you mean? Because the one thing we were able to do is get the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program loan, and that enables us to keep our staff on the payroll through the end of June, which is amazing because right now we are only open for essential pet services. So we have a very scaled down staff, and we have just a couple people at the shelter at any time. And again, shelter visits are by appointment only. You would make an appointment and then go and view the animal, meet the animal you were interested in. Everybody's wearing the gloves and the masks and the medical gowns, keeping that 6 feet distance and being, very precautionary. But so that was an area where we got assistance that is amazing, because as we are a nonprofit organization, we want to keep our staff on the payroll. We don't want anybody to not be able to come back to their job when it is safe to do so. So that's been a great plus for us.
Right. How long has Animal Samaritans been in assistance? And is it just in the Coachella Valley, or is it a national organization?
We are in the Coachella Valley only. We've been in existence since 1978, over 40 years. And, things have grown, things have changed. We not only have the veterinary clinic in Thousand Palms, but we have a clinic in Indio. At this time, it is closed down temporarily, and we are doing an expansion.
Can't hear you. When I go like this, it means I can't hear you. I think she has unstable internet, even though she's in the Coachella Valley with me. So hopefully her sound will come back. The last thing I heard you say, Patrice, is that you're doing an expansion. So hopefully your sound will come back, because we have a great question from Sherry, which I always wondered about myself. That's why sometimes Sherry's question, Patrice, can you try to speak again?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm so sorry. We're having a bad connection.
Great. Well, the last thing I heard you say is, after you mentioned you had a closed office in Indio, a veterinary clinic, that you were doing some kind of an expansion.
Yes, we are expanding the Indio clinic, and it's closed right now and under construction. But when we come back, we'll be bigger and better than ever, and we can offer more veterinarians and more services to meet our clients' needs out there in Indio.
That's great. Well, that's where I live, is Indio, so that'll be wonderful. Sherry says, when you go to adopt a dog, how can you tell which one will be good with kids or is not a biter? It's a good question. I would say I would take my trainer with me, maybe, but.
Yes, we do have the same gal that I mentioned that is our Adoption Alliance supervisor at the Coachella Valley Animal Campus. She is also a behavior specialist. She was recently certified. So she works with our dogs and checks their temperament. And if they need extra care in a certain area, like a potential biter, I mean, it's very rare that they can't be trained out of that, but it does happen. Absolutely. We don't know the background of a lot of these animals or where they've come from, what they've been through. And so, but she does work with them. And we also have a trainer who does our temperament test, who has come in. We had one little dog that was like a fear biter. And when he would eat his food, his name was Gizmo, he would get aggressive. And so she worked with him and was able to work that out of him, and he went to a wonderful family. So it can be corrected. But I would say with kids, I mean, we have children that visit the shelter on a regular basis and spend time with the animals, and we do a lot of we call them cat cuddlers or dog walkers and cat and dog socializers. So those are another area that volunteers can participate. Right now, we aren't offering any volunteer services, of course, but when things get back to normal, you would contact our volunteer coordinator and see the areas that you might be interested in. And so it really is helpful to have those dogs and cats spend time with all kinds of different people and learn, that it's going to be somebody different all the time that works with them. And that gives them a wide range of different types of people. And that includes children. Of course, we would never allow children in a room where an animal is exhibiting any kind of aggression towards kids. And there's always a sign outside of every door if there's any restrictions. Sometimes dogs prefer a man or a woman over the other. You just never know.
Absolutely. Well, not only do I want to thank you for the work you do with Animal Samaritans, I want to thank you for being vegan, because to me, it's a no-brainer. If you're working to save one population of animals, why not just save all of them?
Yes, and I share your same passion, absolutely. And we do have a couple of other staff members who are vegan or vegetarian. And over the years that we have very slowly progressed towards that goal. I've only been with the organization going on 2 years now, almost 2 years. And so I'm always sure to make sure we provide an option for our staff and at all of our events for vegans. But, it's a slow process. There's a lot of people that have been with the organization for many years that don't think that way. So I just think by, setting a positive example and but it is something that we have talked about as an organization, and it's just baby steps, like getting there. And I agree with you. I see cows the same as dogs, but that's me. And so I would love to see that happen for Animal Samaritans. But right now, our mission focuses on companion animals, dogs and cats specifically.
Right. Harmony says, what's the best way to find a similar organization where we live?
I would just suggest putting it in your computer, just put animal rescue and maybe add a keyword where you're interested. I don't know if you're interested in volunteering or adoption. You would, maybe put in animal welfare / adoption, and it'll come up for sure.
Nice. Lily says, what do you think of bone broth for dogs? I'm not a fan of that for anyone. We just recently had a vegan GI doctor talk to the group and he's not a fan of it. So not at least for humans. I don't know about dogs.
And I honestly don't know either. Probably be I don't know, a question for a veterinarian, which I'm not. I really don't have
Right.
experience.
And I'm working on getting a veterinarian to come on one of these days because that would be really great. And she said, how do you figure out what your dog has allergies to? There are actually specialists that are doctors of veterinary medicine that are immunologists, and they can do allergy testing at dogs. At least LA has that. Do you guys have any questions for Patrice or about Animal Samaritans? And do you guys know that Amazon Smile exists? Even if that's not your charity of choice, do you guys know about that everyone can choose a charity for free and do that? I hope you guys do, and I hope you'll consider Animal Samaritans. And I also always hope that you'll consider adopting rather than shopping, because I always say, don't breed and buy while homeless animals die. Now, since they're not, I never found that the local, I don't even know, County of Riverside was very good anyway, no offense, but they don't really come out. So you're saying they're not picking up stray dogs. I haven't seen a lot of, well, I'm not really going outside except to walk Bailey. But so what's happening to all the strays? They're just fending for themselves right now?
Yeah, I really haven't heard a lot about that in the Coachella Valley specifically. We've all been, many of the staff have been watching a Best Friends animal town hall webinar each week, and just kind of learning about the animal welfare organizations as a whole, and learning, what everybody's doing. And really across the country, a lot of the shelters are using the same protocol right now for when it comes to strays and taking in relinquished pets and all of that. So it's a problem all over the place. I honestly don't know for the Coachella Valley if there's been an increase. We haven't really seen that much, and we thought we might see more than we have, more owner surrenders or people coming in, from the street with strays. But it does happen. I just don't know how much longer this is all going to go on and how much of an increase we might see.
Wow. So Colleen is saying adoption is impossible. I get turned down constantly. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Colleen? I need more information to know why. Like, do they discriminate against people that are elderly, not wanting to let them adopt pets? I mean, I've heard that sometimes happens.
We do have a series of questions on our application to qualify for adoption. And, we often have to talk to the landlord if you're renting or at an apartment. We have to solidify the things that are claimed on the application. And, sometimes we do have to turn people down based on their situation if we see that it might be unsafe, for an animal. But I generally, if somebody really wants to adopt, they are in the right place to do so. And it is really important to make sure you are in the right place to adopt an animal. It's a huge commitment. These little dogs live many, many years, and you have to be sure everybody in the household is also on board with that adoption, and everybody's going to be available to assist in the upbringing of that pet. So yeah, I don't know, again, like you said, AJ, what that individual's trouble has been in the past adopting, but I'm not sure how to answer that, like you
Yeah.
said.
Well, that's then go get yourself a stray because they're out there for sure. I just think it's criminal that people are allowed to turn in pets, whether it's a kill shelter or a no kill shelter. I mean, you can do that with kids apparently too. I didn't realize, but I just don't understand. When you get a pet, it's for life.
Yes, I agree with you, AJ. I mean, sometimes somebody has a situation that they really have no control over. Sometimes they really can't get out of a bad place that they're in, or they need time to do so. We don't do that type of, we don't do emergency boarding. It is something that we have considered maybe down the road, Another thing that Animal Samaritans is planning, and again, this all started up right before the shutdown. We are going to be expanding and building a new animal shelter. Again, ours is very tiny. It's a very old building, and we own a big piece of property next to our veterinary clinic in Thousand Palms. And so we had just started up a capital campaign, and then we had to, put the brakes on. But in the future, I mean, keep your eye on Animal Samaritans, because we have really big plans. And one of those things was, down the road, and we're going to take it in steps. Foremost will be our new animal shelter, but we also will be looking at training dogs there, and all kinds of things, a humane education area where maybe kids can come and do field trips to have a classroom presentation. And so we have big plans. I'm just hopeful that, we can get back to that sooner than later.
That's great. How did you guys get involved with the schools? Because I know that's not in your area, and that maybe we'll have either Diana or Autumn come on and talk, but have you always done that in the Coachella Valley? Because I've not really seen an organization, and I've been with others, do as much as you do. Like every day there's literally, if I wanted to, I could volunteer probably 2 different schools every single day. Like, I mean, when we're not sheltering, like all year round, summer, it doesn't even matter. It's like you guys go everywhere.
Yes, it's a very big part of our organization, and it's something else that makes Animal Samaritans so unique. One of our founding members, Barbara Flanagan, she has the passion. She was a teacher, and she wanted to bring this to the schools and the kids. And she started the organization way back in 1978, along with another gal. But yeah, so it's been from the get-go, and we have now 2 employees in our humane education department. And they, like you said, they go out all the time. They bring guinea pigs to the classroom, and therapy dogs like Bailey and Hannah, the pit bull that I mentioned, as well as others. They're out there all the time. And we also offer something called Critter Camp, and that is a free camp to kids. It's in the Coachella Valley, from Desert Hot Springs all the way out in Mecca and Thermal. And this summer, I'm pretty sure that is not going to be happening, unfortunately. But they do the therapy dogs there, and they do a reptile show. I've been to it, and they do arts and crafts. And again, it's always with that positive message of treating animals with kindness and compassion. And it's a beautiful program. And I'm happy to be, working here and representing something like that. It is unique, like you said. I haven't witnessed that with other organizations personally.
I went this summer to Critter Camp with Bailey, and it was really, the kids really, really enjoyed it. Debbie wants to know if you have any experience with vegan dog food.
I actually do personally. Now, this is, totally off of Animal Samaritans. For me as an individual, I've tried a few different brands with my little dog Bean, who you just met. And there's a brand called Halo. She didn't prefer that one, maybe the taste, the dry kibble. She did like the wet food. And then there's Nature's Recipe. There's 2 or 3, there's another kibble that I just got that's trying to think of the name. It's Walk. Do you know that one, AJ, by any chance?
Bailey eats V-Dog, so that's the one I know.
Okay, yes, I also know V-Dog. I tried that too, and I like some of their treats. They've got a pretty wide range of things available. So there's a lot of options out there, actually. And, you just give it a try and see what your dog likes, because you want to make sure that they're eating, regularly and eating well. And, I'm not a veterinarian. I can't speak to the health and well-being, compared to another, but I trust the companies who make it with my own little girl. And they've got all the vitamins and minerals in there, and supplements that they've put the science behind it.
That's neat. How can we get educate? This was a culture shock when I moved to the Coachella Valley, because people don't treat their animals the same as they did in the big city. They often leave them outside and tied up and in the heat, and it seems like there's nobody to enforce it. How can we change this on a legal level so that this can't be?
Yeah, I'm sure that is problematic, and probably more so in certain areas. whenever we get calls, and we do, about a neglected animal, or a box of kittens next door, or, a stray or an injured animal, we always refer them to Coachella Valley Animal Campus, because those are the officers who will go out and check and see what's really happening with that animal. And we don't go out and about as Animal Samaritans. We don't pick up strays. That's just not part of what we do. So we always refer them to that animal shelter there in Riverside County. So I don't know what the solution is to that. And certainly with the heat, that's an issue. You definitely are going to see heat exposure, and we have worked in conjunction with Well in the Desert to organize for homeless people and people experiencing homelessness, specifically who may have pets. There's, that cooling center, if you're aware of that. So we've also, something else we were getting ready to launch, and we will in the future, is a mobile spay neuter clinic for animals that are on the street with their owners. So I think a lot of it just is education, just letting people know what the issues are out there and what they can maybe do to help, and who the right person is to contact depending on what they're seeing. So yeah, there's work to be done, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Tama says, my daughter is looking for a career with animals, possibly a vet tech, but not a vet. Can you make a living running an animal shelter? What jobs can you recommend?
Okay. Congrats to her. It's a wonderful, career to get into, any of those that you mentioned. We, in our humane education department, Deanna just launched recently a program to teach the little kids about veterinary care and what is entailed with that. And she put together a whole curriculum for that. And so, we're out there spreading the word of what it means to be a veterinarian. And they have little buttons like Chef AJ showed you that say, future vet. And so we encourage that with kids. I don't know enough about running it and the financials behind running a shelter. And we're a nonprofit, and we do rely very heavily on donations and on gift giving. So I don't know. It's definitely a lot of work. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. It's not easy, but it's so worth it in the end, the animals that you can help and the different programs that you can offer. So I would recommend looking more into it, and you'll see there are a lot of animal rescue groups out there. Everybody's working really hard. And here in the Coachella Valley, I'm grateful to see that a lot of the rescue groups do work in as a community together. When somebody needs help or somebody has extra, whatever that it is, blankets and towels and bedding and food, we reach out to one another and we help each other. So, we're all in it together. But yeah, I would highly recommend. I find it extremely rewarding. It's something I've always wanted to be a part of. I like AJ, have been a volunteer and worked with and still work with another therapy dog group outside of Animal Samaritans, because it just is so rewarding. And yeah, it brings a lot of joy to people and the animals.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Cynthia, who lives in Desert Hot Springs, watching, and she asks if your Animal Samaritans clinic still has walk-ins for vaccinations, because her dog is due on May 10th. Can she schedule an appointment, or is that not a non-essential service right now?
That is a great question. Thank you so much for asking. Right now, we are only open in Thousand Palms by appointment, no walk-ins, and we are only offering essential services. So unfortunately, vaccines are not considered that unless they are for a new puppy or kitten. Then we have that package that we are offering now, but we're only seeing things like animals that are in pain, a terminally ill animal that's, unfortunately ready for euthanasia, eye and ear infections, oozing sores, those types of things. We aren't offering walk-ins. And it is important to get that message out there, because they're working very hard at our clinic to stagger the appointments so they don't have too many people in the parking lot. They're meeting outside, retrieving your pet from the car, collecting payment in advance. all of these things to really follow those CDC guidelines. We're really adhering very strictly to that order.
Yeah. Cynthia says her license is due as well, and she needs the rabies vaccination to acquire the license. It doesn't sound like any animal control people are going to be coming around looking, because Patrice says they're not even picking up strays. So she's probably legally safe right now.
Yes, I think so. Again, the animal campus next door to us is not open to the public and very scaled down on staff because of so few animals that they have there and the work that they're not providing right now. So I would say just hang tight and hope that things change sooner than later. But we all have to be safe in the meantime.
Right. Kenny says, do dogs need to wear shoes or boots when they walk on hot surfaces?
That is a great question and highly recommended. What they say is for you to touch the surface of the ground with your hand. If it's too hot for your hand, it's absolutely too hot for your pup, and even more so because those pads of their feet are very sensitive. There are booties that you can try. A lot of dogs don't like them. You can, put them in a wagon with a towel. You can carry them depending on their size, but you absolutely want to avoid that hot surface of the street. Yes.
Absolutely. And I was told even maybe to put our bare foot on the surface, because our hands get used to touching hot things as humans, as grown-ups, but our foot doesn't get used to it. So what I just did is I bought a used baby carriage from Samaritans. And when it's really hot, I just push baby Bailey around in a baby buggy. And it's really cute.
That's right. I remember that when we had one that just come in, someone donated and you were looking for one. It was perfect. That was one of our first interactions, you and I.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you guys have any more questions about just animal assisted therapy, volunteering? And don't forget, even if you don't want to, I would hope you would consider choosing Animal Samaritans as your Amazon Smile. I posted a link, but please make sure that you have some charity picked at least, because, why not? They're going to, it doesn't cost anything. And, a lot of organizations have a lot of money, but, I think animal rescue is a great one to. Oh, she's putting her slides up. This is great. She's going to show you a brochure.
Okay, so this will show you a little bit more about Animal Samaritans for those of you watching that are not familiar with our organization. It shows our mission there and a little bit of our backstory. And one of the dogs in the picture below to the far right, that is Rocky, and he is amazing. He has a buddy named Brutus, and together they are a bonded pair. They are both available right now. If you're interested, you could, again, give us a call at our shelter to visit, but he's just a cutie pie. So that tells you a little bit more. And then going on to the second page, it talks about our no-kill shelter and our clinics and our animal companion therapy program there in the center at the bottom. And on the right, the right for me, it's probably the left for you. Our Highway Heroes is part of our volunteer offerings. And what that is people who are interested to transport animals from the shelter there in Riverside County, where we have our employee, to another organization that can help that animal. And sometimes they get horses and pigs and rabbits and birds, all kinds of other animals there. We recently helped transport a horse that was in pretty bad shape to a horse rescue. So we're always looking for people to help make those transitions from our shelter to another group. And it's a great way to volunteer. And if anyone's interested in volunteering, again, later we'll be back to that, of course, and they can reach out to our volunteer coordinator. And all of this information is on our website, animalsamaritans.org. And it looks like this. And here is another thing I wanted to share with your viewers. Every Thursday, it doesn't say Thursday there, this is for yesterday's Zoom meeting. Our head veterinarian, Dr. Busquet, she will be doing a Zoom presentation, much like we're doing right now, and answering questions to viewers that are specific to veterinary care and COVID-19 or whatever questions you have. And we just started that up, and it's been pretty successful. And I listened last night, and it's very interesting and very informative. So
But this is our website and different ways here on how to help. You can go down to volunteer and see the details in contacting our volunteer coordinator. And you can apply online there. And yeah, a lot of details here that hopefully, like I mentioned, the cat cuddlers, the dog walkers, the foster parents, which is something that, you know, we are always, always looking for. So our coordinator, Valerie Katz, is extremely helpful, and she would love to hear from anybody who's interested.
Your sound got terrific towards the end. I don't know what you did, but it got great. So, you know, I read somewhere that 1.5 million cats and dogs are euthanized annually in the United States. What can we do to change that statistic?
Okay, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. Again, something I mentioned earlier, I would, before adopting, make sure that you are really ready so that that animal isn't adopted and then returned. You know, sometimes it doesn't work out, of course, but so that animal isn't again relinquished, and you know that saves that animal some stress. Again, adoption is absolutely the way to go. Don't be going to any pet stores, or you know, I understand some people do want a specific breed, and you know, we're not against breeders necessarily, but there are so many great animals at the shelter. I mean, my dog Bean came from the Upland Animal Shelter, and she's a therapy dog now. And many of our dogs in the therapy program came from Animal Samaritans directly or another shelter, and have been trained and now are bringing comfort to people who need it. I mean, it's amazing. So you can find a fantastic pet from any animal shelter, and hopefully the shelter staff is familiar enough with the you know, the ways of that particular dog or cat so that they can share with you their preferences and all of that. Like, we do take a lot of time at our animal shelter to get to know the animals. But again, education, I think, is very, very important. And hopefully we're doing some of that through our humane education department and teaching the kids that, you know, animals need to be approached in a certain way so that they have the best chance of being successful with a rescue animal that's brought into their home that way too. And maybe they go back to mom and dad and they're really thrilled and they really think they're ready for a pet, and, you know, can get their parents on board. But you don't want to adopt just on a whim. You don't want to adopt just because you know, your child wants to. You've got to make sure everybody in the home is really ready for that responsibility. But yeah, it's definitely a problem, euthanasia. It's a very sad story, but there are many no-kill shelters now, and there is a movement for no-kill Coachella Valley, where most of the rescue groups here in Coachella Valley are working together towards that end. So again, once we can all get back together and get back into our meetings and strategizing, I think right now everybody's just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure spay and neuter, spay and neuter. Linda Middlesworth, owner of VDog, who'll be a future guest, says, loves her adopted doggies. Please adopt, don't shop. Bailey's a rescue. Except for the pet that I had when I was 4 years old, and I had no control over that because I was a kid. My parents took a puppy that was like somebody else. Well, it was a purebred. So they didn't buy it. Somebody's had puppies. It happened to be a purebred beagle. But after that, every dog I ever had was adopted, and adopted as an adult too, you know. Well, one was 4 months, but but yeah. So thank all of you guys who work in animal rescue in any capacity, whether it's volunteering or just getting a rescued pet. We really, Diane has 5 rescues. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you for your work, which allows me to do my work, which nobody can do right now, but you know, we're thinking about you guys all the time, and can't wait to come back, especially to the schools. Those were my favorite things. The littler they were, the funner they were. I swear, their eyes just open so wide when you bring a dog into the classroom. It's like you feel like you've made their day.
Yeah, you're right, and I've seen that firsthand, and also too with the troubled youth. Like, I've gone to Safe House and observed our team that goes there with their dog, and some of these kids just don't come out of their shell otherwise, you know. And an animal can bring them into a conversation that they wouldn't otherwise have, you know, they wouldn't otherwise have maybe even spoken out loud. And we've seen it with the reading program too, where the kids are reading to the animal because they're non-judgmental. The animal is there just being pet, and we know that they don't really understand. Well, maybe they do understand the story being told, but for the kids, it's really been amazing to witness. I've had moms say that their student had never read out loud before or had never read for that long. But I wanted to backtrack just a touch on you mentioning spay and neuter and how important that is, of course, and I didn't touch on it. All of the pets that are adopted from our shelter are spayed and neutered when they leave, and many shelters do that now, if not most. So they'll be spayed and neutered. They'll have their vaccinations. They'll have a microchip, which is connected to you. And you've got to keep that current with the microchip company. If you move, you got to let them know. It's not like a GPS tracker, but it does tell anybody who scans them for a microchip will be attached to your name and contact information, hopefully current, and they can get that animal back to you quicker. So that's really important too. And it'll keep animals off the street and lost, because of course sometimes they get lost, they get out.
I actually learned things from doing these broadcasts. I didn't even realize I had to contact the microchip company. I moved 16 months ago. Thank you. That never even crossed my mind.
Oh no. Yeah. Many people believe that or it's out of mind. Or they believe that it's like a tracker and it's going to follow you when you move, but it's attached to you and whatever information you provide that company. And that is really super important. And microchipping is very important. We offer that service at Animal Samaritans, not right now, but it's very inexpensive and really crucial to keeping that pet safe and closer to home.
Well, thank you, because I'm going to do that. Well, we all need our pets. I mean, I think that's what keeps me stress-free, and that's what keeps me sane. So again, even if you can't have a pet where you live, you can often volunteer. I mean, that cat cuddler job sounds great to me.
Yeah, doesn't it? I mean, it's really a win-win. And that's the other thing. We have some regular volunteers who come into our shelter and sit with the animals. And some of these people are kids who have disabilities that they wouldn't otherwise feel comfortable in many or most environments. And they get in there with that cat or dog and they'll just sit there all day. And again, it's just a win-win. Everybody's happy. And we welcome volunteers with open arms. There's a huge need for that. So again, when things are up and running, we'll be there.
I know that's the greatest, the best feelings I get in life isn't necessarily from the work I do, even though I do get good feelings that I'm helping people, but the volunteer work is really what feeds my soul. And I would encourage everybody, even if animal volunteers isn't what you resonate with, just do something. Everybody can do something. These daily broadcasts, this is my volunteer job right now. So we all have extra time now, whether it's making masks. I think somebody should be making masks for dogs.
Well, we appreciate you so much, AJ. You do such great work, and I've seen so many people. You have so many followers because you're helpful. You help people, and really, it's give me a lump in my throat. I'm very sensitive, but I appreciate you and everything you do. And I saw recently that you got the Palm Desert Hero recognition at Patch.com.
I know. I couldn't believe it. Somebody, just for doing these broadcasts, somebody nominated me for a local hero award just for these little things, this little show that I do. So yeah, that was really amazing to be honored in my own community, So thank you. Yeah, that's great. And actually, I just had an idea. Maybe I can nominate you, because I saw that paper and it says you can nominate a local hero. So I think anybody that works in animal rescue is a hero, and anybody that's doing anything right now is a hero. So thank you for what you do. And I can't wait till we get back to some semblance of normal, because I'm worried Bailey's going to forget how to volunteer. I mean, I'm sure she'll probably be fine, but it's funny because like you say, I put her vest on too. And she's like going to the door. I'm like, no, we're not really going to volunteer. We're just showing off your vest, Hey, Bean, how you doing?
Yes, I brought Bean back on to get involved. And I know she's confused because just like Bailey, you put that vest on and she's ready to go to work. She's so excited.
That's
So
how, no, and I've got my shirt on too, and I'm ready to go to work. So maybe I'll just go, I don't know. I can't even visit a neighbor. So thanks so much. And thanks to, I mean, I don't really know anybody in Animal Samaritans other than you and Autumn and Diana, and they're welcome to come on and talk about their very specific work, but that just whoever your higher ups are, just tell them, I think you're doing a great job. And I think they're a wonderful organization. And, you know, who knows, I don't have kids, and I'm actually filling out my will now, and I'm thinking, where am I going to give my money? And I know Animal Samaritans, they're at the top of the list. So, you know, if they'll go vegan, I'll give them my inheritance. Or that's not my inheritance, my whatever it's called when I die, you know, my estate, if you will. Yeah.
well, I will share that information. And again, we rely solely on the community and beyond the community. Plan giving is another area that we welcome, of course. You know, we can't count on estates and trusts, but when they come in, it's huge, and it's so helpful. And we, like most nonprofits, totally rely on that. So thank you so much for mentioning that. It's really important, and especially at times like now when we can't be out there. We've had to cancel huge fundraisers that we have every year, big events that we all look so forward to and have worked so hard on already. And it's just it's heartbreaking. And I know you know, everybody's dealing with the same thing, especially with nonprofits. So I mean, it's been an honor to be on your show. I know you have so many viewers, and I really can't thank you enough. Really, thank you.
Oh, no. Well, thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be able to volunteer. So thanks, Animal Samaritans. Thanks, everybody, so much for watching. Let's see, we have a really full weekend. We have 5 shows this weekend. I don't know what happened. I was doing it once a day, and now it's more. Tomorrow, Saturday at 2 p.m., we have a vegan cardiologist named Dr. AJ Shah. At 4 p.m., we have a vegan internal medicine doctor, Dr. Chris Miller, who reversed her lupus with a plant-based diet. On Sunday, we have a cooking demonstration at 11 a.m. And by the way, these are always Pacific time because that's where I live, with Elspeth Feldman, the Speedy Vegan. At noon, backed by popular demand, Dr. Doug Lyle. And at 2 p.m., celebrity fitness and nutritional guru John Pierre. So we're trying to keep you guys off the local news and be on the global news, things that really make a difference in people's lives, like Animal Samaritans. Check them out at animalsamaritans.org. If you're local, think about volunteering. If you're not local, think about making them your Amazon Smile charity. It doesn't cost you anything, and they could sure use the help. And thanks again, Patrice, for being such an awesome advocate of animals and a vegan.
You bet. Thank you too. And yeah, one more reminder about Amazon Smile. You just pretty easy to select us as your charity, and we get 0.5% off every purchase. And I know purchases are being made left and right on Amazon right now. And just one more thing, Animal Samaritans was selected. I hope you can see this here. We were selected as the Best in the Valley charity in 2015, 18, and again now. Well, we had different titles that we won for, that we were recognized for, but this year, 2020, the best charity in the Coachella Valley. So can't go wrong with that.
That's great. That's I picked the right one to volunteer for. Well, thanks again, Patrice. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And remember, adopt, don't shop. Bye, Patrice.
Bye, AJ. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.